So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Sunday, and because in the Catholic calendar, believe it or not, the Catholics have got their own calendar, it's the end of the year already. So they've got December, I think. They have a little season called Advent, and they get themselves ready for the big feast of Christmas. But in a week or two leading up to the beginning of December, they have a couple of spooky Sundays with spooky readings like this one. Which I've now lost. Now there it is. Following the hard times, because he's given them a bit of a thrashing. There are going to be hard days, nothing like it. From the time God made the world right up to the present. Now he looks as though he's on a roll. And there'll be nothing like it again. And if God let the days of trouble run their course, nobody would make it. But because of God's chosen people, those he personally chose, he's already intervened. Now that's spooky, that's spooky. And I mean, it's got to be seen in context. And fortunately or unfortunately, but just to make the case, you've got the news of the fighting between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I won't say the Jews, I'll say the Israelis, because it appears to be a nationalist conflict. And see, it's like that there, if you listen to people telling you what it's like to be in Gaza right now, and whether you're a Jew or a Palestinian, whether you're, an Israeli or a Palestinian, you see, you feel as though, be ready to run for it when you see the monster of Desicum. Be ready. If you're living in Judea at the time, run for the hills. If you're working in the yard, don't go back to the house to get anything. If you're out in the field, don't go back to get your coat. Pregnant and nursing mothers will have it especially hard. Hope and pray this won't happen in the middle of winter. These are going to be hard days, nothing like it, etc., etc. And he goes on and on and on. It's going to be brother killing brother, father killing child, children killing parents. There's no telling who will hate you because of the cause. Stay with it, that's what's required. You won't be sorry, you'll be safe. So, I mean, it's grim. It's what they call in the trade apocalyptic. I think George Bush tried it, the second George Bush tried it, when he was going to invade Iraq, because he was more or less, it seemed to be driven by fundamentalist Christian view of history that says the end of the world, and it's all coming out of here, it's all coming out of the Old Testament, or the Torah, and it's also coming out of a misinterpretation of certain bits of the New Testament, like the book of Apocalypse. George said, there's going to be a battle in Palestine. That battle may well end up with the battle that ends history as we know it, and it'll all be centred on Jerusalem. And he was getting his literary fodder out of this book. Now there's your Jesus caught in a similar kind of almost apocalyptic situation where Palestine was occupied by the Romans. So you've got the Roman army in town, you've got the Roman garrison. Guess where they put it, folks? Right in the middle of the most sacred place for the Jews, which was the temple. So the garrison apparently was installed in the temple building, so that in fact they had a staircase that ran down the inside of the building, so that soldiers would be able to get in amongst the pilgrims easily. So that was militarily smart. But I mean, it was on all the time, you know. I mean, there was a bunch of teenagers, Jewish teenagers, who had taken a vow to kill a Roman a day. They were called the assassins, and they were highly thought of amongst amongst the Jewish people. Of course, not all of them, but I mean, most of them would have been in agreement that these were brave boys who were taking on the Roman Empire. So you've got your Jesus, you see, at the same time. Which way is he going to go? Is he going to be mealy-mouthed and say nothing about the occupation of Palestine? Is he going to join the assassins? What's he going to do? I think they say that maybe one of his disciples was in fact an assassin. Whether he was a practicing assassin or whether in fact he was he had to give up the practice, but maybe he still keep the ideology. Who knows? Because all of his disciples were youngish. So this reading here about the end, I'm reminded of you know, the Jesus predicament. What can you say? Terrify people. Well, he uses terrifying language insofar as he's trying to say, listen, boys and girls, the way we're going, unless somebody can find a solution to this situation. And he tried to find a solution insofar as he said to the Jewish people, and the ones who took notice of him were not the upper class, but the elite, but the ordinary, what will I say, Jew in the street, man and woman. They needed a peaceful solution and a civil society. So I think he was trying to push that during his 3 years of public campaigning. But every now and again, you see, he was confronted with one of these situations as you would be if you're living in Palestine now. If there's rockets coming over and terrifying you, if you're living in Jewish territory, and then the other side will say, hey, hang on, that's only you've got our rockets flying over, you yourselves are sending aeroplanes over. So it's hard to know, you know, who's doing more harm to whom. And that was Jesus' predicament. But he's saying, look, whatever happens militarily and whatever happens about damage and all that kind of thing, we ought to, in fact, get our collective act together so that we can come out of this as a, what will I say now in modern times, a civil society. Occupied and all as we may be, we mustn't let these people occupy our minds and hearts. At the same time, we mustn't be turned into beasts so that gives them an excuse to kill us. So he says we're in dangerous times. And we're in dangerous times. I think the Americans are frightened, aren't they, about, what are they frightened about? The fiscal cliff.
Yes.
Now that's not rockets and things, that's simply Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac or somebody, or Enron or whoever it might be. Wall Street, you know. We're going to fall over the cliff. Everybody's going to have to pay taxes. The rich will be yelling and screaming, but the poor, the middle class, will be yelling and screaming too. So Mr. Obama is saying, these are terrible times, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to make sacrifices. So you don't want the middle class yelling and screaming, he says to the rich. Because if they start yelling and screaming, you're going to be in dire straits financially anyway. So if you contribute heroically to the national economy, well then the middle class will not have to be taxed. And they can get on with the business of making money for you, he says. So it's all around us. Syria, of course, has gone off the news. Is it the end of days for the Roman Catholic Church in Australia or in other parts of the world, because they're being hauled before royal commissions, they're being asked to make their files available. You could take an apocalyptic view of it and say the Roman Catholic Church is grinding to a halt. Well, maybe it is grinding to a halt. Maybe it needs to die and rise again from the ashes or something. I don't know. But certainly there's doom and gloom all around the place. Except if you look at nature, and then you have the eclipse of the sun, was it? Or the moon?
Yeah, the sun.
The sun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dark, and they all said, oh God, the sun has gone. But then in a few moments, the sun had come back again. So I think that's what your Jesus is on about. Don't go, folks, because the best is yet to come. And I guess for a poor old Catholic priest like me, the same is the best is yet to come. For Catholicism in Australia, and that's what Doco is all about. In God we trust. Ghost pictures doing their best. Can you see that? Turn it around or what? They're trying to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth about the Catholic Church in one part of the world that has been through an apocalypse, and that's South Melbourne's St Peter's and Paul's Church, where I was the parish priest for 38 years, for better or worse, richer or poorer. And I'd like to have a royal commission into what happened and why we had to be moved out of it, because it's been hell ever since. There was notice of it 2-3 years, but this doco will in fact tell the story, and I think I'm more determined that the story should be told anyway. Is that the thing? And we need a couple of dollars to help us finish the story. Is that? Can you see that?
I think turn it around.
What do you mean turn it around?
Because
the
link.
Is that better, is it?
Yeah.
The link. See?
The link down there.
The missing link.
Yes.
A few bob, and they're on, because I'm reminded, because one of ours, Costas Vassilou, who started with us when he was 15, and that was 1978, and it's his anniversary tomorrow, so this might get up in time, mightn't it? Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
See?
Good.
He almost made it to 50, but he was one of the founding members. There's his little dog, Rosie, because he used to end up like one of the Greek philosophers, the cynic, who went around the world reminding the world that in fact you had no need for anything much. He used to go around going woof woof woof, and the dog would go woof woof woof, walking around the aspirational areas of South Melbourne and Port Melbourne, and thinking back, I'm saying, well, that's what he seemed to be. He was a Cypriot himself. Maybe he was making the comment, hey boys and girls, you don't need to have all the things that you've got. Look after one another, and especially look after your children. And I'm here to say that maybe there are other things in life apart from being successful, because I look like a clown. That's all I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Then I found him dead in the back of the property in the church, dead from a broken heart. And that was part of the problem, you see, because people thought that they were safe with us because we were, and I was, according to them, irremovable. They're not going to put him out because he's doing a lot of good things for people. And unfortunately, they started to lose confidence and lose hope after 3 years of the struggle. And that's what I'm saying, the hellish effects of a headquarters staff, church or otherwise, that does not find out whether what they want to do with a parish is in fact in the best interest of the neighbourhood. So that's our little commission, trying to find out why. And here's his... I'm doing this because tomorrow is going to be the first year since he was found dead on location just outside the parish church. Not for you, what's that say? Not for you to ask
The reason,
but to find a reason big enough. And I put his own signature on that. I had it on an inner stamp because he was a proud man, even though he carried on as though he was a clown. And I thought, well, look, he would like to have the last word, which I'm now giving him on his first anniversary. Anyway, enough of that. All the best, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll meet again hopefully in another week. We might even go back to church.tv if we can find out how to work the server. But in the meantime, YouTube is probably much more popular than church.tv, isn't it? Anyway, let us know if you can keep in touch with us, and let us know whether you think this is a load of rubbish or whether in fact it's helpful. Ta-da!